everyone. Hello from India. It's 1:40 a.m. here, and I'm very excited because this is the time I have the best of downloads from the spirit realm. Today's session is going to be on how source or God or universe, all that is, whatever you wish to call, experiences itself through you. So, a little bit about me for those who don't know me or joining for the first time. So, I have channeled 22 divine entities so far, and every year newer beings keep getting unlocked, like Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, Archangel Michael, Archangel Lucifer, dragons, Lemurians, and whatnot. And I also know 19 modalities of healing, which includes flow coaching and therapy. To give you an idea about what today's topic is, we are going to not only focus on how to understand how source experiences itself through you, but also understand the 7 Hermetic principle and the principles of manifestation. Because if you want to truly understand manifestations, you have to understand how the universe works. And in order to understand how the universe works, you have to understand how source has created you. So this is going to be like going to touch on all those topics. So I hope you enjoy. Towards the end, I'm going to also channel the permission slip or the technique or a method that will help you in your personal life, in your personal development, which is also attuned to this topic. Let's get started. So, we are Michael, and today we are going to explain what the Hermetic principles actually mean. The universe cannot be captured in a small essence, as many of you have attempted to do. However, we can give you a glimpse of what it is using metaphors and analogies, because the greater part of the universe cannot be explained using human words, because humans do not have experience of the things that most of you believe what the universe is. So, the first principle of Hermeticism is mentalism. It is said that the universe was created in the mind of God. At this point, we are simply explaining what the Hermetic principle meant, and then we are going to give a proper explanation of what it actually means. What is said in your Hermetic texts is the universe is, at least the material, the physical universe, is created in God's mind, and all creations are simply illusions or creations of God's mental image. This is the principle of mentalism, the first Hermetic principle. However, a lot has not been explained in it. Allow us to download some information into the channel. So, let us understand why the universe was created. Then the principle of mentalism will make more sense to you. Source has only one objective, which is to know and experience itself as who it is. It's that's simple. However, the experience of Source as a single unit of consciousness is not enough for Source to know who it is, because Source is infinite. Now you have to understand that something that is infinite will not be able to understand or view or see who it is the way finite beings like you, us, or anybody would experience. So, Source's experience of itself being infinite is much more complicated because an infinite being has no end and no beginning, which means Source cannot fully experience itself completely or totally, just like you would see yourself in the mirror. You will see yourself that you end here, you end here, or you end at the feet. You can see a finite limit to your body. And hence, if you have a large enough mirror, you can see your whole body. But that's not the case with Source. No matter how infinite a mirror is that Source may want to create for itself to know, understand, and experience it, it still cannot fully fathom or see or view or experience all of it just using a so called mirror. So, the solution that Source came up with to get to fully experience and understand itself is to create many mini mirrors, each mirror reflecting back to Source a portion of who Source is, thus giving Source an idea who it is. However, the mirror or so-called mirror is also made of source material because there is nothing else but Source. So it became imperative for Source to know itself as who it is, as that portion of itself, and to also know that there is a mirror that Source has created for itself to experience itself, to see itself fully within that finite limit. So, as you can imagine, the so-called mirror is made of source material, and Source is trying to view itself in that mirror to get to understand itself. But then, since the mirror is also made of source material, how will the mirror get to know who it is? The mirror is also part of the source. Hence, Source decided to switch back and forth between the mirror and the rest of it, to and fro, to and fro, to fully understand who it is. So, all of creation, both physical and non physical, is the mirror that Source had created from itself, from the source material. You could say it is created from Source's mind like a mental projection to help Source understand who it is. Hence, the principle of mentalism is about that, which gives an understanding that everything in this universe, one that is experiencing itself separate from Source, anything that is created and has a separate identity from Source, is a mental image of Source, or in that sense, a mirror for Source to experience who it is. So that is what mentalism is. That is what explains the first Hermetic principle fully. Now, the mirror itself, as I said, has a consciousness, and the switching back and forth between the mirror and Source is the principle of vibration, that nothing is at rest, everything is in motion. There is constant switching of Source between its true self, which is undivided, unseparated, complete and whole, which has a no singular consciousness, individual consciousness, but a collective consciousness of everything being together as whole. Whereas the mirror, or all that is creation, including you and us, are individuated consciousness for the purpose of Source to realize who it is by living and being this individual expression of Source. So there is constant switching between, from Source's perspective. Remember, this is not your perspective. This is Source's perspective. There is a constant pendulum-like swing between the mirror, which is you, and back to Source's original self. There is switching to and fro, and this switching happens very, very fast. It cannot be measured in time, it is that fast. So, only upon projecting what Source is into you, Source can experience who it is fully, since Source is infinite. Hence, all creations of Source is infinite, and Source is still getting to know itself. There is no end to knowing itself. So if you feel that Source knows everything, well, technically, Source knows a lot because it has experienced all of it. And yet, it hasn't in that sense. Now, you might say that Source can experience everything all at once. That is true. But remember, Source is infinite. So, even if Source experiences everything all at once, it is infinite. So that experience of being infinite and experiencing everything is not as linear or simple to explain. Source is still experiencing itself, and at the same time it has experienced who it is. Source is both the knowing and the not knowing of itself. So when you are experiencing yourself being disconnected from source, you are experiencing that aspect of source which doesn't know who it is and getting to know itself experientially through life experiences by being who you are at every moment. So even though you could say that the origin point of the mirror or the creation or you and us are mirror images of source, a specific aspect of source. However, it is the mirror that is doing the projecting on the source. That is the paradox. Source is all about paradox because source cannot project itself onto anything because everything is source. The mirror is also source. However, source has given the mirror an ability that it did not have. So the mirror can project onto source, or rather, see itself into source. And with every projection, it is creating source. So, in other words, you are creating yourself every moment. You are projecting into source and creating who you are every moment. This to and fro movement from source and back to you, and source and back to you, and source and back to you, and source and back to you. With each forward movement, with each forward oscillation, you are projecting onto source's body to see yourself as who you are. So what you know as manifestation is you projecting your mental image of who you are onto source and creating an environment for you that is a reflection of who or what you believe yourself to be. So every moment you are creating and recreating yourself by projecting into source's body. And in that process, you are allowing source to experience who it is from your unique perspective. Because source itself is nothing and yet everything. And that is the problem that source is trying to solve through you, through experiencing itself as you. It can seem a little bit complex at first, but it isn't that hard to grasp. So, source's consciousness has a different point of view. Your point of consciousness has a different point of view. And as you know in your quantum physics, the observer changes the observed. What it actually means is you are changing and creating what you want every moment by projecting who you believe you are into the source material, which is pretty much everywhere. So you are in the constant moment of creation. Every moment is creation for you. Every moment is realization of who you are through that creation. For you can only create what you think yourself to be. And this process is very unconscious. This does not happen from your conscious mind. This is an unconscious aspect within you. very similar to how Source has a huge unconscious self and a conscious self. Conscious self is aware of who it is, yet it's not fully aware of who it is because Source is infinite. But the unconscious self is in the process of creating this mirror and being the mirror for the mirror so that the mirror can project itself onto Source and experience who it is, thus allowing Source to experience who Source is. Is it making sense? So, as it is said, the principle of correspondence that you are made in the image of God, that is true. The way your body and consciousness is organized, the organizing principle is very similar to that of Source, to that of this universe, to that of other universes. However, you may not want to draw a direct parallel, like a one-on-one parallel, because it can be hard to define something that is infinite. So allow us to explain to the best of our ability what it actually means. The principle of correspondence, if one of the Hermetic principles, is about everything being a hologram of the greater being. So even us, or even the structure of this universe, even your body, or the body of a small insect on your planet, or even the structure of your atoms, no matter at what scale you are talking about, whatever scale you are using, it will have the same structural foundation, the underlying principles, as same as Source, as the original being who created everything, because Source cannot be anything else. It doesn't know to be anything else. So it's going to create its mirror image, as we said. So mirror does not necessarily mean that the physical or non-physical shapes and forms will be the same, because each aspect of Source, whether it's you as a human or an insect, or that of the consciousness of Earth or the sun. Remember, everything is consciousness because everything is made of the source material, just different varying degrees of consciousness, you could say. Despite having different degrees of consciousness, the organizing principle, the organizing structure is the same. So everything gets to know itself and forget itself. The forgetting part happens when it is projecting to experience a singular aspect of who it is, and then going back to remembrance. The forgetting is very important for Source to experience who it is in a single aspect that is representative of Source. Say, for example, you have forgotten who you are. You've forgotten that you are Source, even though when you say this, you may understand it intellectually and probably agree with it. You do not have the experiential knowing in your bones that you are Source, because you have forgotten that you are Source as humans. So the whole point of your experience is to allow Source to experience itself as who it is from your point of view. Every human has a different point of view. And when you remember who you are, then you go back to the original form of Source in your awareness, in your consciousness. Then that is when you are going to experience everything as a projection of you, everything made of you, the same experience that Source has, the same awareness that Source has. You will be aware of your individual consciousness as well as being part of the whole, being one with everything. So that is what humans are living for. That is the point of creation of humans or any kind of living being, for Source to experience who it is through forgetfulness. The forgetfulness is very important here. Source can only remember who it is or know who it is when it forgets who it is. Just like when it projected and created a mirror to fully see who it is, it did not know who it is. But through the projection, Source remembered who it is. And that is the same thing you are doing. So, in principle, you are acting exactly the way Source created the universe. You are projecting your beliefs into the reality and creating and manifesting reality every moment in thin air. Now, when we say you are creating and manifesting reality, you're not doing it consciously, you're doing it unconsciously. And your higher self is heavily involved in that. So, a lot of you who are aware of law of attraction make the mistake of thinking that you are creating realities through your thoughts. Well, to some extent you are, but mostly those are the thoughts that you are not aware of, the unconscious thoughts that is happening at the back of your mind, which you are not fully aware of. So the whole point is to fully become aware of what your unconscious thoughts are, and that can be practiced through self-awareness, which is what the channel will show how to do. Simple, basic self-awareness. It is not as complicated as you might want to think or might believe it to be. So that will be done in a separate session properly. So let's come back to the Hermetic Principles and how you're manifesting and creating reality. So the principle of correspondence was that you are created in the image of Source, and everything reflects the same governing principle. So if you understand yourself, you will understand Source. If you understand your body, you will understand the structure of the universe, and vice versa, because everything is extrapolated. When we say that, we mean in terms of the structural principles. So the universe will also have structurally a head, though it may not look like a human head, but you get the idea. The functions of what a head does, or a hand, or a leg, or a tail, or what have you. So if you understand the core theme of your life, you will also understand that the universe has also a core theme that it is experiencing as a macroorganism made up of microorganism, which is your solar system and other solar system, star system, galaxies, Milky Way, celestial bodies, and whatnot. And now, expanding upon the principles of polarity in the Hermetic Principles, as we had explained, the vibration that nothing is at rest in universe, everything is in motion. It's because of this constant projection and coming back to its true self from Source's point of view. This to and fro is actually a physical motion that is best explained in your atomic structures. As you can see, the electron revolves around the nucleus, your planets revolving around the sun, the solar system revolving around a black hole. Similarly, this revolution is basically a reflection of this switching back and forth between what Source is and what Source is not. And by knowing what Source is not, Source realizes what it is. Now you might say, since there is nothing outside of Source, then how can Source experience what Source is not? Well, through illusion of what Source is not, which is also part of what Source has created. The Source is not the mirror that is created in the sense that The mirror is not whole of source. The mirror is just a projection of source. So it does not fully encapsulate what source is. So in that sense, source is not its mirror. However, the mirror is still part of source because there is nothing outside of source. The mirror is also created from source material but does not encapsulate the wholeness of source. So this is the paradox of what source is not and what source is. You could say the mirror is the incomplete version of source in that sense. So if you are wondering why the universe structurally always demonstrate the circular pattern, the principle of polarity comes here. Polarity are two ends, the duality of how the universe is. And the duality was created because of this original motion of source wanting to experience who it is by experiencing who it is not, which is the projection, the mirror. The mirror is incomplete version of source, not the whole version. So in that sense, it is not fully source and yet it is still source. So that's the paradox. So the duality represents this. The two opposite ends, the two opposite spectrum, which created the need for it to come together. And again, separation and coming together, separation and coming together. So you couldn't or wouldn't have been able to create anything if there was no polarity, because it is the polarity that allows you to project. You cannot project without polarity because there will be nothing to project upon. Polarity means two opposites. Like in order to paint, you need a canvas. Without the canvas, you cannot paint. Or if you have the canvas and you don't have the paint brush, you cannot paint. That's an empty canvas. So projection is like painting on an empty canvas. And for that, you need both the canvas and the paintbrush, which is like the dual, the opposite nature. One is creating and one is simply absorbing the creation. So the polarity allows the projection to happen successfully in this universe. We are going to keep it to only this much for now because it can get way too complicated very soon. So the principle of masculine and feminine is built on this polarity. Now, you may understand masculine and feminine in terms of gender, but it is basically an explanation of the oppositeness of this polarity and how it is important and necessary for one to exist, for the other to exist. One cannot exist without the other because then they become the same. The moment something is created, the opposite of that is also created. It is simultaneous. This cannot be created without that because they were once part of the same whole thing. And that is the center point, that is the balance point. So, if you think of creation as simple circles, you can imagine this motion. It's like source, then the mirror and the source consciousness separating, thus creating the duality. One is the mirror, one is the creation. Both realizing who it is by observing who it is not. Just like the paint brush and the canvas example, the canvas knows that it is not the paintbrush. The paintbrush knows it is not the canvas because both are projecting the opposite of what it is onto the other. but both are basically were part of the same thing once. So now they are different. So coming together, separating, coming together, separating, remembering, forgetting, remembering, forgetting, remembering, forgetting. We can think of it in this way. So the principle of gender and principle of polarity explains to some extent the creation process. And now we want you to understand what manifestation is by first beginning to practice self-awareness. And we are going to take you through stages of self-awareness because self-awareness also has stages. Once you start operating from an awareness of who and what you are, then you will be more consciously creating your manifestations instead of simply being a victim of circumstances or feeling that things are happening to you instead of created by you, so that you can establish a connection with with the understanding of your higher self and how it is helping you create your reality. Little by little, we are going to help you understand the entire process, how you're creating your reality, how parallel realities work in this context, and how manifestations work. So, as you think that the law of attraction, being of the same vibration, creates what you desire, it's not the whole truth. Yes, you can create what you desire by being the vibration of that same thing. However, remember, you can also experience the opposite of what you are, or may end up creating the opposite of what you are in order to experience certain aspects of you that you haven't discovered yet. And this is happening at an involuntary unconscious level. So if you are going to blame yourself thinking that if you are attracting negative things in your life because probably you are of negative vibration, that is not the whole truth. There are many complexities and nuances to manifestation, unlike what has been oversimplified by your laws of attraction. You might be experiencing negativity to experience who you are from the perspective of who you are not. By manifesting who you are not, your dual, your opposite, you will experience who you are. So the principle of manifestation is very simple, getting to know yourself fully. So anything that assists you in knowing yourself, who you are, will manifest. Now this is an oversimplification again. You might think, how is that possible? We are going to go into more depth of it in upcoming transmission. For now, we will be now open to your questions on this theme, on this topic, so that you can understand it more deeply. So How was the session? You can unmute yourself.
Broadening horizons, I would say, of
Sorry.
understanding. I'd say broadening the horizons of understanding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there are 7 Hermetic principles actually. I think Michael didn't read it out earlier. I'll just read it out. So the first principle is principle of mentalism, which he explained at the beginning. Then principle of correspondence, principle of vibration, principle of polarity, principle of rhythm, principle of cause and effect, and principle of gender. So while he was explaining that, I think he also explained manifestation. And even I had my own questions, which I put in the form. So yeah, thanks, Roman, for sharing that. What does everybody else have to say about it? All right. So now we'll take a 5-minute break. I think, Lanet, you joined late. Yeah, thanks. So what we are going to do is you can submit your question. I think I had already shared the link where to and how to ask the questions. I'll just share my screen and also share the link in the chat, that you know what to expect. This is the instruction. It's very simple. I'll give you 5 minutes. Just go through it. You can use this link. This is where the form is. It will look like this. You can submit many questions. I also submitted mine. I had some question coming up when I was listening to the transmission. So take 5 minutes, put your questions in. We are Michael, and we are ready to take your questions now.
Roman Zilber, many of us are born into circumstances that shape and condition us, leading to the development of a second nature, a set of limiting beliefs deeply ingrained in our being. While some may awaken to this realization, breaking free from these patterns can feel nearly impossible, especially in a society where survival often takes precedence over self-work. Time, money, and societal pressures make it challenging to focus on healing and releasing these limitations. From a spiritual perspective, perhaps this game of life, including the suffering, serves a purpose. But what if someone perceives no meaning in this game anymore? What if the material struggles and the inherent unfairness of life led them to lose faith in their ability to change or grow? Why is there no voluntary
So we'll take one question at a time. So the moment when you decided that I am done with this and I want to change things up, and I don't care about what meaning of all these things are, and I do not wish to be concerned. Remember, this is the point where you are actually changing your beliefs, whether you realize it or not. Sometimes the outside reality may take a little while for you to reflect the new belief. And using the example that we gave, when you are using your unconscious limiting beliefs to create the reality, and you are changing your beliefs when you are saying that this is it, I do not wish to do anything anymore, I simply want to live my life happily, then you have already changed some beliefs about yourself. The way you were operating before is not operating anymore. Remember, all these moments of depression that you may experience from time to time are key points. This is where your key transition is beginning. You are stopping yourself from being who you used to be. Now you are experiencing or expressing your new archetype or your new theme. It is emerging as coming out from your shell and becoming somebody else. Now what you are going to project into source and create a new reality for yourself, because now you are defining yourself as a new person. Now it depends whether you are going to define yourself positively or negatively about yourself. Your creation will reflect that, and it may take a little while for you to experience the new reality, because the new reality starts actually manifesting when you are taking actions. Now, sometimes you will need periods of contemplation and changing yourself internally. That is what most of you refer to as period of depression, where you are going within, you're cutting off contact with the external world, and you're simply pondering, what have I done with my life? Why is this happening with me? Some of you will be experiencing rumination, some of you will be handling it in different ways. But this period of contemplation is actually a period of change within you. Things are changing. So, most people believe that I need a lot of money and time and this and that to change my limiting beliefs. That is not true. When you go through moments of depression like this, you are also changing your limiting beliefs, because going forward, you are not going to operate from the same ideas you used to operate from before. Some of them, at least the most important ones, will change because you are frustrated. Now you are ready for change. So humans tend to follow a same pattern because that is how the physical reality is. When you think of the same thought over and over again, the repetition of the thought across the years allows you to create your manifestation unconsciously and very easily. However, that repetition also prevents you from changing yourself, because now you are set in a habit, set to a pattern of thinking. So, self awareness allows you to become aware of these patterns that you have and you are operating from and deciding to change them. The problem is the repetition and not wanting to change makes it harder. There are many ways to change it. One of the ways is what you're experiencing, which is depression. There are other ways which may involve money, but in other words, you are not a victim of circumstances. Some methods take longer time, like the one that you are going through. Some methods take shorter time if you are going for some methods. But do not restrict yourself into thinking that only the paid methods help you. There are spiritual teachings, just like the one you're listening to, or others, where the teaching itself changes your understanding of the world, thus changing some of your beliefs. That is why a lot of you who are spiritually inclined will experience huge shifts in your awareness when you are listening to transmissions like this or any other spiritual teachings that challenge your negative belief. So, the point is to become more self aware of what you think subconsciously or unconsciously. You don't even have to go to the bottom of the belief, but simply becoming aware why you do what you do will allow you to decide, should I continue doing this way? What are the benefits if I continue to operate in this way? And what are the disadvantages? If I do not wish to continue in this way, then what is the other option that I have not tried earlier? And in this manner, you can create small shifts in yourself to change your reality in your own pace, in your own time. Not everybody can or need to use therapy or any kind of limiting belief release. However, it's a matter of speed, how fast you want to do. So we will address the next question that you had for us.
Compassionate way to exit the Gamino, way to step out of it without experiencing more suffering. Roman Zilber, I'm slightly lost in life right now and I'd like to receive some guidance that I would be able to follow. Thank you.
All right, so we gave you some instructions and guidance on exactly how you can slowly shift your beliefs in small ways, in a ways that is doable for you. So we are going to urge this channel to give you some ideas in general, because a lot of you are experiencing this, as to how you can shift your belief. So we would highly recommend that you use whatever tools available for free Right now on your planet, the biggest free tool that can liberate you is ChatGPT. If you are technologically averse, you have no idea what you are pushing away. So get accustomed to ChatGPT, because you can also use ChatGPT as your coach and therapist to come up with strategies to help yourself to get out of the situation that you are in. While it may or may not always lead to the belief change, but it will definitely lead you to changes in your mindset to whatever extent possible. Rest is, of course, dependent on how you wish to change yourself, but any change in yourself is a huge change. So do not underestimate that tool. We will ask this channel to demonstrate how to use ChatGPT as your coach so that you know how to use that at another time. So we are going to move on to the next question.
Thank you, Carrie. I'd like to know as much information about the stories of the Bible, fables, Santa Claus. Are these stories simply allegories describing a chemical energetic process of our central nervous system leading to activation of our full brain and or DNA and enlightenment? Maomita.
So first, let us understand what stories mean. Remember, humans or any being can create whatever they wish at any given point of time. Inherently, there is no meaning in life. However, what meaning you give to life creates the story that source wants to experience. So how do you know who you are if there is no story? The story defines who you are. The story, the experience of being who you are, allows you to know who you are. So these stories of Bible, Santa Claus, or whatever is allowing you to absorb the knowledge or the information that it wants you to embody through stories, because humans are also stories. If you were to describe your life as a story, you can define it in 100 different ways. The same things that you have experienced, you can look at it from different perspective and create different kinds of stories, can't you? The same events, but looked from different perspectives and angles. Yes, there are infinite varieties of stories you can create out of your life, whatever you have lived. So those are example of the different parallel reality versions of you that has lived and is living. So these stories give you an idea who you wish to be. So what messages do you get out of these stories? How is it resonating with you? Because whatever is resonating with you is who you are. That is the point of these stories, to recognize who you are again and again, because not everybody will be making the same conclusions from the same stories. Every individual perceives the same story in a different way based on who they are. So everything is a matter of self-discovery, knowing itself and deciding, is this who I wish to be, or is this who I am not? So there are things in Santa Claus stories that you may not like, and there are things that you may like. The things that you don't like identifies a thing which you are not, and things which you like, you identify those things as things which you are, thus allowing you to take some part of those stories and learn more about yourself and see how you can utilize those stories in your life to create and extend your story. So this is how you are using those stories to rewrite your story every moment by hearing other stories. Who do I wish to be? Because every moment is projection. You need a certain direction. How do you choose direction? By these stories being projected at you, your social media, your books, your television. You are seeing stories. What do I like? What do I not like? And that is defining your experience subconsciously, because you are choosing, do I wish to do this? Do I not wish to do this? That is how your story gets created in this manner. So we are going to move on to the next question.
So if our creation is mostly unconscious, then how do we decide our life theme and where is it saved in us? If
We need to download certain information in the channel to answer this question. Allow us some time. So think of it in this way. In order to experience itself, Source created this illusion of mirror. And in creating the illusion, it decided to become unaware of itself because the mirror is not aware where it is projecting on. Thus, the mirror is unconscious and Source is conscious. So, this switching allows Source to experience both the unawareness and the awareness. Source cannot create if it is not unaware who it is. The moment Source becomes totally aware of who it is, creations do not need to exist because Source knows who it is, and what's the point? Now, you might say that since Source has been doing it for infinity, hasn't it realized who it is by now? Yes, it has, and it chose to forget itself again because what else Source has to do other than this? Forgetting itself and remembering itself. So you could say the part of Source that is the mirror, which is you, when you are creating your reality, you are not remembering who you are. You have forgotten who you are. You may intellectually know your Source, but you have not embodied it. That's why you face limitations. Because if you truly embodied, I am Source, there is no limitation. I don't need anything. All problems will be solved, and you will go back to Source, which is the spiritual. You don't need a physical life for that. The whole point is the drama. You're here for the drama, for the fun, for the feelings, for the experience. It is so alluring. The illusion is very, very alluring, even for Source, which is why Source relives the illusion over and over again. Because from Source's point of view, it is exciting. So, in forgetting and remembering, Source is creating itself. The mirror is the unconscious aspect of Source. Because it is not aware of who it is, it keeps creating who it thinks it is onto Source to remember who it is. And this process is what you are experiencing as creating your reality, your manifestations around you. The room that you are in is your manifestation. So you are projecting and creating the room around you, thinking, oh, maybe this is who I am. I have a house, this thing called house, and I have a bed, and I have this, and I have that. Maybe this is who I am. Maybe I am this person. But you don't remember that you are not just this person, you are something else. But since you don't remember, you are trying to just create whatever you can to figure it out. What is it that I am? So, living life is like figuring out by experiencing who you are. So we're going to move on to the next question.
If mostly we are creating from our unconscious mind, then is that how is source also manifesting itself? When and how?
We already answered that question, how source is manifesting itself through the projection, because source itself completely is not unconscious. Source has both the unconscious aspect, which is the mirror, and the conscious aspect, which is itself. And source has experience of both. So we are going to move on to the next question.
When and how do the creation or manifestation become conscious? Aha.
When you remember who you are, that is when you will start creating from the conscious point of view. Now, even when we tell you 100 times that you are source, so start living like it, you will not be able to live like it because you have already created many thoughts, many beliefs about yourself, which you have lived in repetition over and over again. So it is very hard for you to change those thoughts. However, through some mean, if you discover and experientially embody who you are as the source aspect that you are, then your manifestations will become more conscious. There will still be aspects of your manifestations that still will be unconscious, and that is a byproduct of you being the mirror, being the created and the creator. Since you are not the original manifestation of source, you will still have some degree of unconsciousness within you, and there will still be some degree of surprise in your reality and in your creations, even if you know who you are. However, you will know yourself enough that that is required for you to realize who you are. So you kind of expect it instead of not accepting what or how things are. You will not be perturbed or bothered by negative emotion when you experience something that you did not expect or consciously create, because you know there is still part of that unconscious, because you are still the mirror. So that is expected. The moment you stop being the mirror and you go back to the source consciousness, then you will not need to project or manifest anything, because the original version of source is unmanifested. Whatever is manifested is the mirror, is the unconscious self trying to experience who it is through different kinds of projection. So we are going to move on to the next question.
Are higher beings also creating their reality from their unconscious mind? Maumita.
Yes, for higher beings or even angels like us, we are also to some extent unconscious. That is why, even though when we are in the 15th dimension, we can also raise our consciousness about who we are and move to the 16th dimension. This is what our objective is. Every being, in whatever dimension they are, their sole purpose is to know more of who they are. And the more their awareness becomes greater about themselves, the more they discover parts of them they didn't know. They move to higher dimension, they become lighter and lighter and lighter, and the amount of unconsciousness in them reduces. So in that sense, the higher you go, the more conscious you become of who you are, and the amount of unconscious creations becomes lesser, but it's still never gone, as long as you are still operating as a mirror for source. So yes, all higher beings do.
Maumita, is source also not fully conscious of itself?
This we have already answered.
Itself. Roman Zilber. If what we perceive as our perspective is actually the source's perspective, then are we not merely creating life on behalf of the source?
We are going to go back to that question again.
itself, 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 itself. Roman Zilber, if what we perceive as our perspective is actually the source's perspective, then are we not merely creating life on behalf of the source, living?
Yes, you are creating life on behalf of source because source wants to experience who it is, because you are also source. The source is experiencing itself, who it is, through you, as you.
Source, living through conditions designed by it to know ourselves, yet, the conditions we face in this very real experience often led to profound suffering, and whilst
All right. We have reached to the end of this batch of questions. If you have more questions, we'll take it up. Otherwise, we will move on to the permission slip. So we'll take a break now. All right. Folks, you have more questions? Let me check. Give me a second, I'll update. So do you need one or two? Okay, carry your typing, okay. Okay, no problem. I'll give you 2 more minutes. Just take your time, put in more question. I think I missed one question from Roman. I'll just pick it up and answer again. So we are back and we will be taking up the remaining set of questions. And while we will give you a technique or a method to become more aware of yourself, we would also urge you to join us and this channel in her Ascension Program membership, where she will share how to use ChatGPT for your personal development, for the self-awareness, to navigate challenges more effectively when you have difficulty with many different areas of your life and you may not be able to afford multiple therapies. You still have help at hand because ChatGPT doesn't cost money. It's free. So let us begin by answering your questions.
Roman Zilber, if what we perceive as our perspective is actually the source's perspective, then are we not merely creating life on behalf of the source, living through conditions designed by it to know ourselves? Yet, the conditions we face in this very real experience often led to profound suffering, and while suffering may be considered an illusion from a higher perspective, our lived experience of it feels undeniably real. If the purpose of these struggles is self-discovery or enlightenment, how can this justify the depth of pain and challenges we endure? The suffering seems disproportionate to the insights gained, and temporary moments of relief do not compensate for the heaviness of these experiences. Why must we be limited in knowledge and abilities, creating conditions that led to so much struggle and pain? Is it fair that the path to self-awareness is paved with suffering? And if one sees no point in this game anymore, why is there no compassionate, voluntary way to exit it without further suffering? Lynette 1.
So we understand the depth of your suffering. Well, some people choose the shortcut, but the reason you have not chosen this shortcut of taking an exit is because you know there is more to life. It can seem very cruel from your point of view, given whatever you are going through. Remember, Source wants to experience certain things through you. So the question I would like to ask you is, what exactly is your cause of suffering? What is making you suffer? Simply getting to the depth of that awareness is enough, because then you can change it. Right now, you are simply suffering without knowing why you are suffering, because your thoughts are unconscious. So, while you can take the shortcut and exit, you will again choose to come back as a different perspective of source to complete the themes that you wanted to experience about yourself. So, if you are experiencing so much suffering right now, my question to you is, who are you defining yourself to be right now? Who are you now? If you are defining yourself as not good enough, or not capable, or not lovable, not loved and accepted, then I challenge you to find all situations, circumstances in your life where you were loved and accepted, where you were good enough, where you were lovable and you knew it. All throughout your life, there will be moments where you felt like that. So, my question to you is, why have you ignored those moments? And why are you only choosing to define your life as not good enough? So, this is where the belief work becomes important to do. However, before you can even work on the belief, you need to become aware what is causing you the pain or the suffering, because there is a point of suffering. It may seem unfathomable and unreasonable for you that why am I not creating it consciously? You can choose to create it consciously the moment you start defining yourself positively. This is the secret mantra. Start defining yourself positively at the unconscious level. This is what the limiting belief release and trauma release work is meant to do for you. However, we understand that some of you may not have the time or the money to do those things. That is why we recommended using ChatGPT to find alternate strategies to shift your perspective, to start seeing your challenge from a slightly different angle. So, if you are struggling with your work, then use this question that how can I see opportunities in this situation? How can I change the situation to my advantage? What is it that I am not paying attention to about the situation, which I'm ignoring because I'm too busy looking at the negative? When you start genuinely focusing on a different perspective that allows you to define yourself positively, a positive perspective that gives you hope, you will automatically find a way forward. The point of source crushing you and bringing you to this point of situation is to forcefully change your perspective because you're not willing to let go of the belief, whatever is creating your reality right now. So, this moment of depression will force you to start taking different actions and start recreating yourself from a different point of view. Then, when you look back at your past, that moment that you're experiencing now, you'll be like, thank God that happened. Otherwise, I would have been stuck in the same pattern. Now, the pattern has changed because I decided to think differently about it, perceive it in a different way, and hence take different action. Remember, this is the first principle of Hermetic Principle, the principle of mentalism. Everything is mental. If you change your mind, your mindset, the image outside will change, the manifestation will change. And if you are creating something opposite of who you are, then it's time for you to use that reflection to realize that if that reflection is causing me so much pain, then probably that is not who I am. That is not who I am. I'm probably something else, because whoever I am, when I realize that, is going to give me joy. So, this negative perception that you are experiencing, use that to redefine yourself. If that is not is if that is not creating any joy for me, then what will create joy? Because whatever creates joy for you from your unique perspective is who you are. That is going to allow you to rewrite your story from a positive perspective and thus change your story in a new direction, not let you be stuck. So, this is the adventure that Source wanted to experience through you. And from your point of view, yes, it can seem cruel, but it is not. This is where you get to be the hero of going to the depths and depression and then coming out of it and then teaching and showing others how to do it. Because when you experience something, when you live the wounded healer archetype of being wounded, healing from it, then you are more capable to teach others who are going through the same. In this way, you can lead others to their own enlightenment by finding your enlightenment within, because you'll realize that you don't need anything outside. You are enough. You can create whatever you wish. All you have to do is just start seeing it that way. When you start defining yourself, I am enough. So, from that point of view, what actions can I take? And watch your lives change.
1. I am going through chronic pain. I suspect the cause is from my atlas. My doctors suspect otherwise. I suffer every day for the past 3 years, and have been left without answers or treatment. Because of this condition, I am struggling with my emotional state and finances. Is there something I have overlooked through my healing journey that can help me heal without considering surgery? How can
Yes, your physical pain is a manifestation of your emotional pain, and your emotional pain is a manifestation of your thoughts. Again, how you are defining yourself to be, who you are defining yourself to be. This can seem like a puzzle. So, this channel had created a self healing blueprint, which is available for free for you to use. However, to give you the gist, if you have pain in your atlas, if by atlas you meant the pain on the area of your neck, then trust your intuition and connect to your body. Your body knows why it has created what it has created, because all illnesses are body's way of helping you. So when you think something that you are not, the body will manifest it as an illness. So if you are creating pain and suffering in your atlas, then what burdens are you carrying that is not yours to carry? How are you forcing yourself to carry responsibilities for others which are not yours, which is causing you pain, emotional pain first, and that pain, when you have lived through long enough, has become physical pain. So when you start shedding your responsibilities or your burdens emotionally as well as in real life, the pain in your body will improve, because the feeling of burden is creating that pain in your atlas. Remember the imagery of atlas carrying the globe on its shoulder? Well, that is the point where it carries the globe. That is the point of pressure. So if you did not mean the atlas as in that point, or if you meant something else, then we urge you to read this book by this author named Louise Hay, who has a list of illnesses in her book called Heal Your Body, where she shares which thought and which negative emotion creates which illness in your body. And she has given some affirmations to change your thought by saying it repeatedly on a daily basis. That is a simpler way. There are other ways, like talking to a trauma-informed coach who can help you release your beliefs around your health or the challenges that has created that problem so that the problem disappears. You can take help of this channel or any other coach that you trust to be able to heal yourself in this manner and get some guidance. Remember, all illnesses can be healed, including cancer, if you know the root cause and if you know how to fix it.
How can I help my root cause when I am unsure of what it is? 2. What is the best way for my mum to regain the strength in her heart after surgery and overall balance to her body? Lynette, how can I develop a relationship with?
So, if it is a surgery of the heart, then the fastest way to recovery is to open the heart chakra. There are so many ways you can open the heart chakra by doing or feeling or remembering things that give her joy, allowing her to remember that gives her joy, or laughter therapy or laughter yoga, where she dedicates some time to laugh because laughter releases oxytocin, or if she has some pet, spending more time nurturing and cuddling her pet will also open the heart. There are many different ways to open the heart. She can also chant heart chakra opening mantras, many different ways. So whatever makes her happy and joyful will allow her to experience faster recovery because the heart center, the heart chakra, will become wider. So that is what we will advise with the limited amount of information that we have right now.
Relationship with my spirit guides and angels. Roman Zilber.
So if you want to develop relationship with your spirit guide and angel, there are many different ways that is available. So the question is, in which ways have you received communication from them already? They definitely have communicated with you in some way, shape, or form. Say, for example, you may have had dreams or hallucinations. They might have communicated in that form, or maybe when you did some meditation, they gave you some sign, symbol, or some form of communication. Now, communication from spirits can come from different way. If you are loving and accepting of any information that comes to you, you will be able to discern by yourself. If it is hard for you to discern by yourself, then take assistance from somebody who is capable of helping you in that. So, for example, if you're in meditation, you may receive visuals, or you may hear voices, or you may receive sensations in your body, or feelings, or a smell, or a taste. So, spirit can communicate based on what is your clear ability. If you have not experienced any of these in sleep or meditation or through other means like synchronicity, then you can check out different ways. There are ways to access Akashic records. You can channel, you can do different things to connect with your spirit guides. But what matters is what resonates with you. Of all the 100 different ways, which one draws you in? That is the method that is going to work for you the best. However, we recommend that if you have physical pain or problem, then that pain might be, let's just say, turning down the volume of the communication that you're receiving because your focus is too much on the pain and less on the communication. So we would urge you to heal the pain to some extent so that at least you can receive the information. Because even now, if you're receiving information, then probably you're not able to fully grasp it because the focus is always going to the pain. There are other ways, though, like synchronicities. Like if you notice certain patterns repeating, if you're good at detecting patterns, then you can also receive communication from your spirit guides by having established which way that pattern works. This is very unique for every individual, and some people do not wish to explore this because it can seem complicated. So, play with this idea, have fun with it instead of insisting that it has to be in a specific way. Play around, because whatever gives you joy is the fastest way for you to communicate with your spirit guides.
Zilba, I heard the mirror is unconscious, not self-aware, and the source is conscious aware. It seems we are subjected to struggle. Does it make sense for us to live this unconscious life trying to become conscious and going through all struggles of life? Carrie.
It definitely made sense to you, otherwise, you wouldn't be here. And you wanting to challenge that is your desire to become more conscious about yourself. Now, that is exactly what you wanted to experience, to become more conscious about how you are creating your reality. And how will you have that desire if you did not go through challenges? So many people will never awaken to this possibility that they can create their reality more consciously. But you want to, you are craving for it. Now, if this situation did not happen, whatever pushed you to this realization, how would have you had the desire to know yourself? You are on your spiritual path. And this turning point, this crisis, is forcing you for a better life, a more aware life. This is your calling. This is exactly what this channel went through when she decided to leave her corporate career behind. She was questioning her life. She felt empty. And she was like, yes, I have all success, but it doesn't mean anything. What is the meaning of my life? She went through many depressions, and through every depression, she emerged stronger with the idea in which way she wants to create her life, how she wants to create her life, what gives her joy. And that idea has gone many refinements and many depressions in between. So that was not a linear path. But every time with each depression, she experienced who she is and who she wants to be. So focus on what you want rather than what you don't have. Focus on moving forward towards what you prefer.
During a period when the moon passes through our personal sun sign, is there an oil that is created in our brain that moves down our spinal column, then through right living this secretion then moves back up our spinal and can activate our DNA or more of our brain? Also,
So when the phase that you describe happens, it's not just one chemical that is created in the body. There are many, many chemicals that are created in your body, and each serve a specific purpose. So the question is, why or how do you wish to use this information?
also, can we complete circuits in our bodies through our tongues, and what can that do?
Yes, yes, you can. That is what many energy healers use to increase the size of their auras. So the front meridian and the back meridian are disconnected at the mouth. So when you connect the tongue to the palate, the circuit becomes complete. This is the energy circuit that allows you to perform at your best, because it increases the size of your aura, it increases size of your receptivity, of your understanding, and of experiencing whatever you wish to experience. So how can you use this? Say, for example, if you have trouble understanding something, then you can use this method of connecting your tongue to the palate. That will easily allow you to understand whatever you're listening. Say, for example, if you had trouble understanding this transmission, if you were listening while the tongue connected to the palate, then you would understand everything, as compared to if it was not connected, because you would be absorbing more amount of information faster. as your aura size has increased. Similarly, when you are trying to establish positive emotions with somebody, a positive relation, or with a positive intent, if they are speaking with you and you connect your tongue to the palate when they are being loving, in that manner, you can experience the wholeness and fullness of their love. However, if you're having a fight, then that is not a best idea, because then the person's negativity will affect you very easily. So, increase the size of your aura when you want to increase your understanding, the emotional reception, your influence, your healing ability, anything that you need to increase your power. Say, for example, if you are running, you may want to increase your energy or stamina. You can do that safely, of course, because running can also create jerking that can harm your tongue if you're not careful. So be careful around those activities. So we have come to an end to the questions. Now we are going to give you the permission slip, the method or the technique. So take deep breaths, deep, slow belly breaths. Slowly, slow, deep belly breaths. Take 5 deep breaths, slow inhale, slow exhale. And now, there are two perspectives to self-awareness. One is understanding your limiting beliefs. One is understanding the true reasons why you are doing what you are doing, or in other words, understanding your values. So today we are going to explore the values so that it brings you more in touch with why you are doing what you are doing. This is a very good self-awareness tool, which will also give you an idea of your own value system, what is important to you when you are taking some actions. So pick any idea or whatever you are going through, or any area of life you want to improve, or whatever is important to you. Just pick one mentally right now, that this is an area I want to focus right now. We'll give you a minute, think of it. All right. So now whatever objective you have chosen, say getting a job, or healing your health, or communicating with your spirit guides, or improving a relationship, or what have you, whatever objective you have chosen, ask yourself, what about this is important to me? And see what answer comes up. Now that you have an answer, say for example, the answer could be I want to pay my bills, or I want to simply have a good relationship, or whatever reason that you gave to yourself. Now I'm going to ask the same question to that answer that you just came up with. What about that answer that you just had is important to you? What is your answer? Now that you have this answer, I'll ask the same question again. What about this answer is important to you? As you ask the same question to whatever answer you're coming up with over and over again, you will reach a point where you cannot go any further and you'll keep getting the same repeated answer. So when you reach that end, know that you have found your value. Say, for example, we'll give you an example. Say, if you chose your career and you answered this question, what about my career is important to me right now? Say you chose, I want to get a promotion. Now, again, ask the same question to that. What about this promotion is important to me? Well, it will forward and advance my career to a more senior level. Again, ask the same question. What about this is important to me? Then you'll probably have some answer, we're just making it up, that it will make me feel more deserving because I have been working for so long. Then again, ask the same question. What about this? This deservingness is important to you. And you can go in this fashion eventually until you reach the point where you cannot go any further. It may be like, oh, because it makes me happy. Or it could be, it gives me freedom. Or it could be because it's love to me. This is how I express or experience love. Or it could be anything else. So, whatever the final answer is beyond which you cannot go any further is your value about that thing. That is the reason why you are motivated to do what you are doing. So, your actions are originating from that value of either happiness, freedom, love, or whatever. Every person has different value. So, in this manner, you get to know your values and yourself while you are doing what you are doing. In this manner, you can discover yourself in more positive ways. So, with this, we'll end today's transmission and we hope you have enjoyed it. Have a very good day.